because I do the things I should, between my brethren kind and good. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on to reach the top somehow. I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow. I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow. I'll keep moving on.
Yes, my Straight Talk family, when you hear that theme song, then you know it's time for another edition of Straight Talk. And time for me to bid you, St. Kitts and Nevis, a very pleasant night wherever you are in the Federation. And I bid the entire Eastern Caribbean as well a very pleasant night, whether you're down south or up north. We welcome you to another edition of Straight Talk. And I should say good night to the world, because we are on the World Wide Web and we reach and touch you wherever you are, especially those in the diaspora. I say greetings to Asia, greetings to Europe, greetings to Africa, and of course I extend greetings to our brothers and sisters in North America. And there are first-timers. I'm almost certain there are first-timers, and I welcome you and trust and hope tonight would not be your last time, because we come every Monday and Thursday from 8 in the p.m. to 10 in the p.m. Slightly tardy start tonight, for which I do apologize. But welcome nonetheless to another edition of Straight Talk. And I can say good night, I can say good morning, I will say good afternoon, because one of such greetings will be applicable to the region in which you now find yourselves. And my Straight Talk family, I want to, from the onset, extend condolences to my Straight Talk family. Or before I even go there, I should first of all inform the first timers that Straight Talk is a public service program that facilitates and promotes free expression on all issues of national interest, be they legal, be they environmental, be they technological, social, economic, and or political issues. On Straight Talk, you do have a forum to express yourselves freely. Let us in the process continue or try or strive to make St. Kitts and Nevis once again one of the freest countries, if not the freest country in the entire universe. On this program, we try to raise the level of national consciousness. We try to raise the level of national discourse by alerting our people to their rights, to their responsibilities, and certainly to their obligations. My name is Ian Patches Liebert, and I give Almighty God thanks. I thank God for blessing me with yet another opportunity to join you in conversation on yet another occasion. And I always want to forewarn you that as your host, I enjoy being your host. I thank you for coming on board with me every Monday and Thursday. But I must remind you that I'm your untiring advocate of truthfulness. And on this program, we do not water down anything in any way, whether by omission, whether by exaggeration, to make it more interesting. We don't get sensational at all. We just give you the facts. Because I consider it my bounden duty to always present the unvarnished truth about governance in particular in my country. Let's hail the young ones, Dwayne. Let's hail Tristan. Let's hail Shamar. Let's hail Kevin Handy. And let's hail that special lady in St. Louis. I saw you on national TV the other day. You didn't tell me about that. I wonder why. But how is the Queen? How is Texas? How is Philadelphia? How is New Jersey? How is New York? I'm going to get in trouble here. How is everybody, should I say? I was going to say, yes, that I heard of the sad passing of Mistress Vera Griffin Manchester. Vera, who we have learned has gone to the great beyond, and we must extend condolences, of course, to my neighbor, Mr. and Mrs. Walwyn. I've seen them for some time. And her brothers, John, Douglas, Melville, and Tony. I spoke to John today. I was trying to remember all the brothers, and yes, I think I've got all except Tony. How could I forget that baseman, John? And your dear madam as well. And we extend condolences to the entire family, Griffin family, who have lost Vera. I also heard and absorbed with much shock today the passing of Mrs. Vandelin Petty, the wife of Osmond Petty. And I asked somebody to confirm today, and they said to me, but I saw her in church on Sunday, but we can be here today, and we're gone tonight, we're gone tomorrow. That's what it is. So I extend condolences to her children, Kirstine, I think, Curtis, I think is the other one, and Christian. I remember all of them. I don't know if they remember me, but the fact is, though, I always like to remind all those who are enduring moments like these, moments of grief. Because we can say anything, but your mother, your brother, your sister dies. Really, only you, according to Jimmy Cliff, only you feel it and you will know it. We can tell you anything, but really, who feels it knows it. And I always like to pass on to those who find themselves in this predicament, as someone passed on to me some years ago. And I found those words comforting in that I was told that death is a process. So all who have lost loved ones, we extend condolences to all of you, my Straight Talk family. I don't remember all, because it's times we just don't hear. But as we move on to our observations in review, this is the time when we highlight the issues of the day. We then do some reflection. We may then ask a few questions, such as what was accomplished, how has it helped others in particular, what has changed since one, and what can be expected next. Also, what new we have learned as a people. And my first observation, my Straight Dog family, relates to, and I cannot resist reflecting on the day before our 40th anniversary of independence. And our Prime Minister, Dr. Jew, ran to the Parliament on Monday the 18th, that day before independence, to unveil what he called Independence 40 Reset. Apparently, I just say apparently, because it has not to date materialized. It was aimed at revitalizing the Federation and expressing gratitude, he says, to its hard-working citizens. And he expressed gratitude in the form of $1,000. But this Independence 40 Reset program consists of some initiatives. I think there's 6 initiatives. The Workers' Reset, in which they have provided a one-time payment of $1,000 to contributors to the Social Security Fund as part of the government's reset initiatives. But strange but true, only pensioners and active workers who reside in St. Kitts and Nevis will benefit from the initiative. Yes, found it very strange, but strange things happen with or under Dr. Jew. We've heard of the electricity arrears and water services reset. Also, the housing arrears reset, land reset, and the building materials reset. But weeks after this announcement, there's some people have not received the $1,000 reset up to this day. I remember last time, matter of fact, during our tenure in office, some 5 years ago, just before COVID, I mean, over $23 million were distributed to those who had temporarily lost their jobs, had lost earning. But you seem to just think about something, spit it out, and without really planning. But weeks after, many people continue to ask me, Patches, what really is a reset? And what did you reset? And these are 2 prevalent questions that come to the fore. As for many people, this reset has not made any of them better off or better able to cope with their current situation here in St. Kitts and Nevis. thousands of people, for example, are still not benefiting from the poverty alleviation program that was introduced on the Team Unity, I think, back in 2018. And remember, this Jew Labor administration promised to improve this social assistance program, but they got into office unexpectedly. That's the word. And they have done the entirely opposite. This Jew administration, it is fair to say, my Straight Talk family, they betrayed even their own supporters, because they first of all reduced the budget. They asked people to reapply. And while they were criticizing the 7,000 persons that were on the PAP, some of whom got on during the COVID situation, almost 2,000 of them, they had applications, albeit not all people applied because of the what I call impediment in terms of the technology that had to be used, had to get online and reapply online. But they reduced the budget that they met there. And a matter of fact, there's some 12,000 persons who applied, and all persons have not applied. But truth be told, as I said, the Jew Labor Administration betrayed even their own supporters, as they promised to enhance the poverty alleviation program, but they did entirely the opposite. And this is how it stands even as we speak tonight, my Straight Dog family.
We paid on the 30th of June, I'll get that number for you, 5,361 households are receiving PAP at this time. Remember, when we closed applications in December, 11,639 applied. Of that number, 8,985 were eligible. All right? And so that now, if you take 5,361 from that number, it's over 60% of the applications are being paid. I know for some persons being in the 40%, to them it's unfair.
How can you rationalize that? How can one rationalize that? That you only pay 60% of those persons who are in need. But that situation has become even worse as we speak. And Dr. Jew has done nothing, absolutely nothing about the situation of these people. Look at electricity and water, my Straight Dog family. He promised to reconnect persons. And perhaps you can say that's a reset, because if you're disconnected, you're reconnected. That's your reset. But people are expecting, or were expecting otherwise. People were expecting a restart in terms of addressing their arrears. But that must be a difficult proposition, and that has to take into consideration those who were diligently paying their bills, I must confess, my Straight Dog family. But the fact is, my Straight Dog family, the harsh reality is that the $500 that they have took away from many of the thousands of people, poor people, the $500 could have helped poor people to pay their electricity and water bills. And many have testified Many have testified and continue to do so. Many continue to testify about the helpfulness, if I can use that term, the helpfulness of this particular social assistance which they started to receive under the team unity administration, I think, as I said, back in 2018. And this one lady testified in this way. She said this.
It is not EASY. It is not easy. And do not be fooled. Do not let no nice show and no nice thing fool you. The $500 we are getting now from the PAP thing, it is so helpful. I wish I could triple it up. It's so helpful. It come in so handy.
And you know, some people said the $500 that they were getting, not they are getting. But for me, though, when I think of any reset, I envision an economic recovery plan to help our people, to help us as a country to address the fallout from the COVID-19 pandemic in the first place. I envisage a plan that helps us to build in a more resilient, equitable, and sustainable way. But the truth is, and the truth must be told, this entire government, this entire Jew administration, themselves, they need a reset. And this leads me right into my second observation, my Straight Talk family. This government, I submit, needs a reset. Look at what happened to our country, my Straight Talk family, at the United Nations General Assembly on Saturday gone. Now, the United Nations is an important global institution that promotes peace in troubled regions all over the world. And amongst other objectives, it brings countries together to work through their differences. So I asked the question, and I want you to ask the same question. How is it that the Jew Labor Administration could not work through the differences between a prime minister and his minister of foreign affairs? And after 40 years of independence, an ambassador and permanent representative to the United Nations, or nations, I should say, has stained the good name of St. Kitts and Nevis on the world stage. St. Kitts and Nevis was given a black eye at the 78th General Assembly convened in New York. St. Kitts and Nevis was given a black eye by Dr. Drew's special handpicked lady for the job. What made her so special, many ask. Many comrades asked when Dr. Drew went on talk radio and fired the incumbent ambassador and made her an immediate replacement. News of one of the 193 members of the United Nations went viral. And we as a Kittitian and Nevision people are still hanging our heads in shame after our land of beauty was brought into disrepute at this august body that came into existence on the 24th of October 1945. 1945, some 78 years ago, after its charter had been ratified by China, France, the Soviet Union, the United Kingdom, the United States, and by a majority of other signatories. And this news, like I said, went viral, even throughout the Caribbean, my Straight Talk family.
The St. Kitts and Nevis government announced late Wednesday that it is recalling its United Nations ambassador for consultations. The official statement did not go into details about the reasons for the recall, but announced that it has identified an interim representative.
All the work that I do is about having the visibility.
The Terence Drew administration appointed Nevis Dockery to the ambassadorship a year ago, and only a few days ago was seen posing for photos with members of different delegations at the UN General Assembly. She was with the delegation in the Assembly Hall when the Prime Minister addressed the UN General Assembly last week. But in recent days, a series of cryptic posts were put on a Facebook page people close to her confirm is her authentic page. One post declared that the ambassador was on a strike until justice is served. Another post referred to character assassination. In yet another, the post appeared to be daring the authorities to take her before the Public Service Commission. Foreign Affairs Minister Denzel Douglas could not be reached for comment.
And my Straight Talk family, Dr. Drew, beg your pardon, absconded. He left the scene expeditiously after being threatened by the lady. Then he showed up in Grenada before the news of her recall was published by the government information system, the SKNIS. Put this post up that this ambassador was recalled for consultation. Very interesting development, an ambassador recalled for consultation. But my Straight Talk family, Shiverton went rogue within the Unga Hall and started behaving in a manner that is not normal or expected and totally unbecoming of an ambassador. She was even more relentless, as you've heard on that news item coming out of Grenada. But she was even more relentless on her social media page and did not, my Straight Talk family underline, did not conceal her feelings, my Straight Talk family. The ambassador, she said, will not be in office until justice is served. I'm on strike, she said. She spoke to character assassination being the worst form of political attack. Never dreamt, she continued, that I would have to endure it for my own party. She challenged them to take her, as she said, take me before the PSC, the Public Service Commission. Then she went on, if you kick a donkey often enough, at some point it won't be able to get back up. This donkey is exhausted, she opined. But who is Nevis Shiverton Dockery? Many ask. A former secretary of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, who is credited with guiding the implementation of the party's code of conduct for their candidates and their ministers of government, we are told. She introduced this pledge.
My name is Nevis Shiverton. I stand before you humbled, but with a sense of pride, both as a citizen of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis and a member of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party on this momentous occasion in the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party's history. The St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party carries in our bones, by virtue of the tremendous sacrifice that has been borne by our forebears. Bradshaw, Southwell, Manchester, France would be very, very proud of us. The future direction of our country depends on all of us. We pledge to work together to usher in a new era of responsibility and respect for the standards of good governance and tenets of democracy upon which our nation was founded.
My Straight Talk family, Bradshaw, Southwell, France, must have all turned in their grave, disgusted of the sort of behavior that was exhibited on the world stage by a top diplomat. But Straight Talk notes that she has been recalled for consultation, and it is our hope that she would get the appropriate help she needs from Dr. Drew. As we were told by several eyewitnesses that the behavior she displayed at the United Nations bordered on being schizophrenic. My Straight Talk family, she was further characterized as someone suffering from hallucinations, delusions, and extremely disordered thinking and behavior. And I'm going to suggest, my Straight Talk family, that the damage is already done. So let us try to recover our broken image on the world stage. But in the meanwhile, let us all pray for the full recovery of Our Lady Nevis Shiverton Dockery. That's my prayer for her tonight, my Straight Talk family. My third observation relates to the many business owners and cricket enthusiasts who are still upset about our non-bid for the 2024 T20 World Cup. Now, Mark-Weh, we have not or never ever produced any West Indies players like Nevis. But in St. Kitts, there is no doubt about our ability to host a party, and a cricket party at that. But why does Drew and his cabinet colleagues like Samuel Duggins lie? And Samuel Duggins must release any report he has about the conditions of the Warner Park facility. Because Samuel said this to the media.
It's not a case where you're saying case that Nevis dropped the ball, but what is required to host a ICC World Cup. And the way we met our facilities and the conditions that they were in coming into office last year, and the short time frame that would have been required to get them compliant with the World Cup standard, it was just too short of a time frame. And so we had to settle for what we can achieve.
What a lie, my Straight Talk family. We just hosted CPL, and we understand that the only requirement related to the enhancement of the dressing rooms at the Players Pavilion and the Len Harris Academy that are used for practice sessions. And these were the two areas. And Samuel Duggins, if he's worth his salt, had 2 years in which to address this reparation work and on the enhancement of these areas, which the technical people have told Straight Talk would not even take 3 months to do. But Samuel Duggins, like his leader, they do one thing: they lie. West Indies cricket is June 2024. Incompetence is the word that comes to mind. And the question we ask, why didn't Samuel Duggins do a cabinet submission? Which is the right thing to do. Go to the cabinet. But no, he had no time to do a submission because instead he preferred to travel all over the world. He's always on a flight going someplace. My Straight Talk family, it is sad that the grassroots economy will not benefit from an activity like that in June 2020 or 2024, beg your pardon, when it's off season. The taxis would have liked that. The vendors would have liked that. Carambola, you can think about. The Caribbeans would have liked that. And we would have liked that, to have fun at Warner Park. But because of the incompetence of the Minister of Sport, who doesn't seem to like or don't understand what is required to get our sports division up and running. And there's continued talk about transparency and accountability. But my Straight Talk family, things are going the opposite way. We tried to inquire about the current disposition of the construction at the Robert L. Bradshaw Museum. It seemed to have stopped and start. We tried to establish what is the exact disposition at the correctional facility, but nothing comes from the mouth of Dr. Drew. Even though they talk about freedom of information, you can get nothing. Everything under the Drew Labor Administration are top national secrets. But what's in the dark, I can forewarn them, one day will come to light. And those are my observations in review, my Straight Talk family. Those are my observations for tonight. And how did I not tell you from the onset that my thesis I have titled Millions Missing Mark, where social security money gone? Have you got that, my Straight Talk family? Millions missing mark. The social security money gone. On the last episode, rather, of Straight Talk, we exposed the reckless behavior of a man called Mark Brantley. We told the nation that Mark Brantley has taken Nevis to the brink of bankruptcy, and his only solution seemed to be to borrow money to pay his debt. So much so that the Nevis Island administration, if accurately reported by him, is over $500 million in debt. $500 million. Do you believe that, my Straight Talk family?
Our debt as of July 2023, our total foreign debt stood at $30.8 million. In terms of our domestic debt, that number stands at $449.4 million. When that is combined then with the foreign debt, we have a total NIA debt $480.3 million EC dollars. In terms of government guaranteed debt, and that total public sector debt comes up to $36.7 million. When then you combine the public corporations with the central government debt of $480.3 million, we have a cumulative total debt position of the island of Nevis at this point, that is corporations, of $544.7 million EC dollars. By any measure, it is a significant number.
Significant, yes, by any measure, and more so in an island of 34 or 35 square miles. Am I correct? With a population of 13,000 people. It has to be significant. Especially when you start to do your debt to GDP per capita. Just for Nevis, my Straight Dog family. And when you have a situation where a government does not pay its debt to its creditors, and in order to service his debt, my Straight Dog family, Mark Brantley uses an egregious strategy, abominable, I call it, in that Mark Brantley as Premier, Mark Brantley as Minister of Finance, deducts social security contributions from civil servants in Nevis and do not pay those monies into the Social Security Fund along with the NIA matching contribution. And this, I submit, has to be a criminal offense, my Straight Dog family. It has to be a criminal offense. My Straight Dog family, the evidence is clear. The evidence is pellucid. The evidence was exposed, and the facts cannot be disputed. Therefore, Mark Brantley, as Minister of Finance and as the minister with responsibility for human resource, must give an account of the money that was deducted from the salary and wages of the civil servants, beg your pardon, in Nevis. The latest amount owed to the Social Security Fund, we are told, including fines. Straight Talk has learned just yesterday that Mark Brantley's Nevis Island administration now owes a whopping $12 million to the Social Security Fund. We haven't heard the minister, Dr. Joe, talk about that. But we must, my Straight Dog family, we must hold Mark Brantley accountable. Because Section 61 of our Constitution is very clear. Very clear, my Straight Dog family. As it stipulates, where any minister has been charged with responsibility for any department of the government, he or she shall exercise general direction and control over that department. That's not discretionary, that's mandatory. Where any minister has been charged with responsibility for any department of the government, he or she shall exercise general direction and control over that department, my Straight Dog family. So it has to be Mark Brantley, the Minister of Finance. He must be the one instructing the Ministry or the Department of Finance or Ministry of Finance not to pay. And I wonder, as a layman, if this is not tantamount to larceny on the part of the Nevis Island administration headed by Mark Brantley. And I say so because I came across the Larceny Act, Cap 4.16, which stipulates or states in Clause 3 of the Act that amongst other things, that a person steals who, without the consent of the owner, fraudulently and without a claim of right made in good faith, takes and carries away anything capable of being stolen with intent at the time of such taking. Mark Brantley, my Straight Dog family, and the Nevis Island administration is depriving the civil servants of their benefits under the Social Security scheme. I also found Clause 19 of the said Act that speaks to conversion. I also found that clause quite interesting, as Section 1, subsection D, reads, and I quote my Straight Dog family, having either solely or jointly with any other person received any property for or on account of any other person fraudulently converts his or her own to his or her own use or benefit, or the use or benefit of any other person, the property or any part of the property or any proceeds of the property, commits a misdemeanor, and on conviction is liable to imprisonment with or without hard labor for a term not exceeding 7 years. So what has Mark Brantley as Premier and the Nevis Island administration did with the money they have deducted from the civil servants in Nevis and not paid that money into the Social Security Fund with a matching contribution as required by the Social Security Act? What have they done with that money? If it's not gone to the Social Security Fund, then it has been fraudulently converted to some other thing, some other action. And this is troubling my Straight Dog family. The rough facts, as I said, my Straight Dog family, are these. And I presented those facts on my last episode. Dr. Drew has not told the country that Mark Brantley and his CCM Island administration owes the Social Security Board, owes the fund millions of dollars in contributions, my Straight Dog family. But Mark Brantley is fully aware that his administration has made Social Security deductions, beg your pardon, from its employees, but it has failed to pay monies that they deducted into the Social Security Fund. What kind of man is Mark Anthony Brantley? His administration, again, has made Social Security deductions from its employees, the civil servants, and has failed to pay those deductions, those deduction monies into the Social Security Fund. He has failed, my Straight Dog family. Those are the facts. But Mark Brantley was asked by a reporter about these facts. Here's the question, my Straight Talk family.
On a program called Straight Talk, a former member of the Team Unity administration, Mr. Ian Patrice Liburn, made a comment about the Nevis Island administration and Social Security. In fact, he indicated that Social Security the Nevis Island administration owes Social Security probably over $40 million. Over how much? Over $40 million in contributions.
I would like you to comment on that, if you could.
Fair question. Although not exactly what I said. The $40 million owed are really loans, but the monies owed for contribution, as I said earlier, amounts to a whopping $12 million as we speak. But one would have anticipated that an honest, decent, and competent leader would say true or false. Is it true that the Nevis Island administration has deducted monies from the wages or salaries of their employees and not paid it into the Social Security Fund with their matching contribution? That's straightforward. An honest, decent, and competent leader would have said it is true and give reasons why they have not paid the money into the fund as per the Social Security legislation. And if it's false, say Patches lie. Just like I said Drew lies and Mark Brantley lies, say Patches lie. But Mark Brantley is obviously none of the above. Based on his response, my Straight Talk family, his absurd response was this.
I was in cabinet for a short period with a man called Ian Patches Liver. And what I will say today on record is that nobody, Mr. Bart, has ever accused Ian Patches Liver of being bright. It has never happened. And at his age now, I don't think it will ever happen again. So, I don't respond to nonsense. And when I hear some of these people and their nonsense, I leave it right there. If Mr. Patches had any appeal to the public, he would not have been fired from every single job that he has ever held. He is now where he is because, you know why? He told people, I know you and you know me. He should have left it at I know you. Because once he said they know him, that's why people vote against him. So I am not concerned about the likes of Patches Liver. He is where he belongs, and he will forever now be a talk show host. That is his calling. Let him stay right there.
My Straight Talk family, how do you interpret that answer? I went to my files to get a response to his non-answer to a pertinent question. Has the NIA deducted from the wages of its civil servants Social Security contributions and have not paid such deducted monies along with the matching contribution as per the law into the Social Security Fund? Straightforward question. But albeit in another context, former Deputy Prime Minister Powell once referred to Mark Brantley as an educated idiot. Here's what he said.
When Mark Brantley came on one of his broadcasts, if you are, and he had his phone in his hand, and he said, if you are looking at me, you would notice I have my phone, and the reason why I have my phone is because we have given the Prime Minister a deadline up to midnight. I said, oh my father. I said, look at that educated idiot. Where he get the authority from the talk about he gave Prime Minister a deadline. My beloved brethren, educated idiot. As a lawyer, he must know the Constitution doesn't give him or anybody else any authority to give the Prime Minister any deadline. He must know that.
A description deriving from a different context, but it seems so appropriate, such an appropriate description of the man Brantley. And recently, a nemesis of Brantley, made this prediction about him. Very interesting prediction, my Straight Talk family.
Mark Brantley will be remembered by historians and by people who read this period of our history as a coward, as a very dictatorial person who was very anti-democracy. How does Mark Brantley feel when he goes to sleep at nights, knowing that there is no public accounts committee? And no public accounts committee because there is no leader of the opposition. There is nobody to watch and to look at Mark and say, well, boy, the more money you get is the more money you spend and is the deeper in the whole Nevis course. The Integrity Commission cannot have full membership for one reason, because there is no leader of the opposition to appoint a member on the Integrity Commission. In Nevis, the emperor without clothes, the one who can't get nothing done, has decided, I am king, I am God, and so there will be no leader of the opposition. When Mark Brantley is finished with politics, he will be passing people and begging them to tell him hello. And people will pass him as if they don't notice that there goes somebody. His place in history will not be a kind place, because he has caused more division in Nevis and in Nevis politics and amongst the people of Nevis than any other person in politics ever in the history of Nevis. He's in a sorry place, and I'm sorry for him.
In a sorry place. I like to hear when individuals say, boy, it sounds so unique. But someone told me just yesterday, my Straight Talk family, that in school, Mark Brantley was a talker, but without much depth. His classmate said he has grown into an arrogant monster. And though he often speaks about his late mother, he has absolutely no respect for anyone, and in particular women. And this comment epitomizes, beg your pardon, the man Mark Brantley. Recent comment just last night.
I went to an event today and I looked around and I saw a particular lady. And the lady used to be a good looking lady. And I say used to be because she faced so vexed that the good look she used to have looked like they disappeared. And I said to my colleague who was there with me, I said, Lord, what's this woman's face? Face twists up like you need an iron to iron out she face, how she face twists up. But face, when I tell you twist up, you need one of them old goose. That they can't iron out with regular iron. You need a goose to press out she face.
That's a typical Mark Brantley. Even his own CCM supporters have publicly condemned him. Pastor Doe had this to say about Mark Brantley just a few months ago, my Straight Talk family.
People have rejected Mark Brantley, and by right so. Mark is not doing anything for the poor man. Mark Brantley is not using his position as a premier to help the poor. Mark is going to do the same shit that he has done in the past. He recognizes only the foreigners, bring them in to work in top positions, and the CCM people who support him, he overlooks them, marginalize them, sidetrack them. But Mark continue down that stupid road. You need to listen. You need to listen. You need to understand that you're not representing the poor, Mark Brantley. You're not representing the poor. All the mouth that you have, you're not representing the poor. And that is getting to people's spirit.
I can see got to the pastor's spirit. I'm a little bit uncomfortable with the but it's coming from the pastor. So he said it's probably a decent word. But all of a sudden, Mark Brantley has taken an about face or turn. But he has been called out for it. He has been called out for it. Mark Brantley has realized that the Nevis Island administration cannot survive without subventions from the federal government. And this activist, I believe, is right on the ball with that assumption, my Straight Talk family.
I couldn't help but wonder, premiers about faith, about some newfound wisdom, or about the new reality, necessity more than anything else. After all, one does not become wise overnight. When you look at his previous position to be fair share and all of that, you have to wonder. I think when you are beholden to the federal government as the NIA is currently, you have got to be politically nimble. I'm looking for a sign that Mr. Brantley can pull the rest of Nevis with his thinking. Whether he can convince the opposition in Nevis, the people of Nevis, to come around to his new found thinking. The NIA cannot survive without subventions from the federal government right now. Critically right now, that is the new reality. Okay? And so I think it was more a case of adjustment to suit that reality than any newfound wisdom.
Adjustment to suit that reality. But Mark Brantley, truth be told, my Straight Talk family, as Premier of Nevis, he has the Nevis Island administration believing like the federal government's rent boy, the way he suddenly wants to cuddle with Dr. Drew. Mark Brantley is petty, he's childish, and he's dunce. Functionally dunce. He's academically bright, but he's functionally dunce. Sometime we'll go into the hospital, which he just recently $2.5 million to get from Social Security, about a $35 million loan which was rejected. We'll get to that some other time, my Straight Talk family. I confirmed very early as a member of the Team Unity Cabinet, in which I served for 5 years, and I'm proud of my legacy in the cabinet. I don't talk much about it, and people ask me why. Because I said self-praise needs no recommendation. And boast not yourself, I always learn, my Straight Talk family. But Mark Brantley has not learned. After buying his way into Parliament for almost 20 years. And yes, buying. Elections are easily bought. This is what we were told by his newfound friend, Terence Drew. In St. Kitts, elections are easily bought by those who have money.
The election in St. Kitts and Nevis, whether you believe it or not, can be bought. It is not too expensive for a rich person to buy an election in St. Kitts and Nevis. This election has proven that.
And yes, Mark Brantley has money, not wisdom. And Mark Brantley cannot become wise overnight. He projects outwardly a newfound wisdom. But little does Mark Brantley know that the best measure of a man's intelligence is not what he says, but instead it is measured by what he does. I repeat that for Mark Brantley again. Mark Brantley, the best measure of your intelligence is not what you say, but instead it is measured by what you do. And you have done absolutely nothing in Nevis but to run the NIA broke. Mark Brantley, the next opportunity you get, therefore, to answer the question, please tell the country about the millions missing, Mark. Tell us where Social Security money gone. That's my story tonight, my Straight Talk family, and I am not going to change it. I will open the lines and entertain your calls and your emails. But before I do so, I always like to implore you to respect others. And of course, to achieve that, you must first respect yourselves. Let us try to be fair to all concerned. Let us try to build goodwill and better friendships. Let us ensure that the things we say and or do will be beneficial to all concerned. And my Straight Talk family, in the process of saying and or doing those things, let us strive to build a kinder, gentler St. Kitts and Nevis. It's 10 minutes past the 9 o'clock hour, my Straight Talk family, and I go straight to the lines and say, caller, you alive. Hello, caller.
Mr. Patil.
Hello, my brother.
Good night, Mr. Patil.
Good night, my brother. Good night, the Bible man. You are getting in the number one position in recent times, but always good to hear you. What's on your mind? Give me
what on my mind? What on my mind?
Mm-hmm.
Philippians chapter 4:19. And God will supply your need according to his riches and glory.
Mm-hmm.
And it is so wonderful that today is the 28th day of September. Tomorrow is the 29th. Saturday is the 30th. Sunday is the 1st of October. And Mr. Patrick, we got to give God an account for what we have done.
Mm-hmm.
If your favor is all right, you are going to be judged. But it is not favor. You are going to be in the white throne judgment.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't really want to be too long tonight.
Please. Yes.
But I am saying to you, to me, Mr. Patrick, that the word of God said, what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world
lose his own
and
soul?
lose his own soul?
True.
Mr. Patrick, you're going to left everything here. You cannot walk with nothing, Mr. Patrick. Empty hand you come, and empty hand you going. You see why people are crippled? The Bible says, food and raiment, you have to be content. It says, godliness is great gain. When you got the Lord, Mr. Patrick, you got something. And when you got the peace of God, you got something. But Mr. Patrick, you could be a millionaire, but brother, you can't sleep. Mr. Patrick, I am going to tell you here that the peace of God that passes all understanding, keep your mind in perfect mind, he said that day. Mr. Patrick, stand still in God. Look after the poor people, Mr. Patrick.
Mm-hmm.
And God is going to bless you, mighty. See you, Mr. Patrick. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for your input, my dear brother. It's 9:14. The lines are open. The numbers, my Straight Talk family, 663-6672 and or 646-829-6672. I just I go straight back to the lines. I thank this caller for holding. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
Good night, Brother Patrick.
Good night, sir.
Good night to the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Patrick, I am in dismay of the commentary about Mark Brantley. I know you said you were going to tell the unvarnished truth. You neither favor nor fortune anyone. But if this are facts, which I believe you are facts, why would not Mark Brantley paid the Social Security contributions that was made by the taxpayers? And to make a long story short on that, it is like the situation with Garth Lawson Wilkin when he didn't pay his benefits. Mark Brantley should have been in handcuffs, prosecute. But it does seem like when government people do their dirty deeds, none of them go to jail. But I'm going to tell you this. Mark, if you do these things wrong, correct them. But your time your time already expired for such a thing. Because where are these monies? Patrick, this may be a laugh, but I wish I could put a team of Scotland Yard and American FBI to haul Mark into question, authorized by the authority that will investigate anyone and having him for question. And answers has to come out.
Okay.
So, Mark, what the hell are you doing in Nevis? Or like the pastor said, what the shit is going on? Mark, I've been in Nevis and I don't see a damn thing done in Nevis neither. And I am sorry for Nevis. I bleed for Nevis. I'm not abusing you, but if you are wrong, you cannot be wrong and strong. So why don't you resign? Why don't you step aside? And I'd like to hear what my brother said, Carlisle Powell. Carlisle, I'm with you, and I know you are with me.
Okay, thank you.
Carlisle is an inspiration, and Carlisle is a great man. So I will yield to that, and I have something else. I touch Nevis because Nevis is very close to my soul and my heart.
Okay.
Thank you for hearing.
Thanks for your contribution. As always, I may not be first to acknowledge with this email that this was a truly creative performance, but there is a time and place for everything. In situations like this, we need to be less impulsive and more sober-minded. The type of creative performance is typical of a non-military marching band, such as may be seen in a school marching band competition or similar event. There is more suitable place for the lighter moment, alluded to by some persons, but certainly not a proper fit for the military to do on a serious occasion as the celebration of independence. It would have been less egregious if this was done by the marching band that rendered their creative display at a different juncture in the proceedings. I trust that this feedback is taken in the spirit in which it was intended. This is not intended as a bash, as I do understand the effort by someone to introduce a little bit of originality, and that's a story relating to the military band's performance, the marching band. I think it's referred to the Independence Day Parade. Caller, you are live. Hello, caller. Hello, caller.
And
Are you there, caller?
Good evening, Mr. Library.
Yeah, could you turn your equipment or you are down? Or you
I don't have it. I don't have anything.
I was getting a feedback from you. Yeah, go ahead. I'm listening to you. But hello?
It's long time I know that Mark Brantley ain't no good. I used to call in on his show every Wednesday night as the thought of the week. And I sent him a message and with one of his ministers. And I told him to tell Mark Brantley I will never respect him in this world the way how he treat Mr. Amory. When I talked to Mr. Amory, I said, Mr. Amory, when Mark is disrespecting you in your office, did anybody stand up for you? He said, no. Nobody stand up for him. He said, all of them is so vagabond. And he told me, he said, I warned Sean about Mark Brantley. But Mr. Harris was Mark Brantley match because he thought that he could have done Mr. Harris like how he do. Have a great evening.
Have a great evening as well. Yes, there's a lot to be told about that story with Vance. Vance told me many things as well. But he's gone to his great beyond, so I will, perhaps at the right time, we'll discuss the issues as it relates to Mark Brantley and how he pushed over a man who recruited him, a secessionist, to come to CCM above all places, above all parties. But that we'll hear in due course. Good evening, Mr. Liber. Your show is doing very well. Keep on keeping on. You will smoke those rodents out of their holes. Mr. Liber, this is a trick question. Where is the AG and the PM when all these robberies are going on? Patches, Douglas manners them up. It is time for Terrence Drew to stand his ground. Brantley with his foulness talking about he never know he's so bright until the broke white man from MSR told him your mother knew you were bright. That is why she kept calling you son. The robbers has to stop. Safe. Be safe, Ambassador, and be wise. Read this email. Yes, that's interesting. His mother called him son. That's S-U-N, not S-O-N. He was always so bright, my straight dog family. And it's now 22 minutes past the 9 o'clock hour. If you have just joined me, my straight dog family, our thesis is titled tonight, and we are looking at our thesis, Millions Missing Mark, where social security money gone. Again, millions missing mark, with social security money gone. Mr. Liber, pleasant night to you, sir. Why are you spending so much time on Drew and his foolishness? Worker reset. Do you realize that this one-time payment of a meager $1,000 is expected to last until next year's independence? Do the math, Patches. That is less than $20 a week. Bloody foolishness. What can $20 a week buy? This is no worker reset. This is a worker upset and labor regret. We upset and regret voting in these novices, beg your pardon, reads this email. And this other email reads, my straight dog family. Good evening, Patches. That lady, the UN ambassador, knows about a code of conduct and even less about diplomacy. She had the audacity to tell Foreign Minister Douglas that he was irrelevant. Can you imagine that? Reads this other email. It's 9:24, my Straight Talk family. And you may have just joined me. And we are looking at our thesis tonight, which we've provided a caption, my Straight Talk family, missing. Money's missing. Where the social security money. Where the social security money? That's colloquial language we're using there, my Straight Dog family. And we are looking at the situation in Nevis. Millions missing, Mark, and I should say that correctly. Where social security money gone? And that title is based on the premise that information, reliable, factual information has come to Straight Talk, confirming that Mark Brantley as Premier and the CCM-led Nevis Island administration has deducted social security contributions from civil servants and have not paid that money according to law into the social security fund with their matching contribution. And that is criminal. Mr. Liebert reads this email. I, for one, do not bother with Mark when he speaks. He always gives the impression that he is a paragon of virtue. But on the other hand, he is nothing but a damn vagabond and not to be trusted. He has absolutely no credibility whatsoever. Look at the scenario with him. When he was in opposition in Nevis, he took NRP and Premier Parry to court on the clock, as he liked to say, for denying he and CCM party the use of the Nevis television station. And he won the case, thereby gaining access for him and his CCM party, full use of the station. When he got into government and became Premier, he never once allowed NRP to use the television station. He has taken full advantage of occupying the Nevis TV for himself and his CCM party. What a dirty fellow. And I recall, Mr. Liebert, there was a discussion on Inside the News on Saturday, or one Saturday, on the Win FM, discussing the use of ZZ radio and TV by opposition parties. Garth Wilkin, the now Attorney General, was one of the panelists, with Miss Jeanne Williams and others. Garth was very critical of Mark and denounced his deception in the strongest possible terms ever for failing to honor the court decision to give television access time to NRP. Garth even went further, stating that NRP could bring a lawsuit against Brantley for not complying with the court decision in giving them accessibility to the television station. All of these fellows just have, not one of them, Mark nor Garth, fool me. Reads this email. This other email reads, I'll try to dispense of the emails, my Straight Talk family. Mr. Hello Patches, keep up the good work, my good brother. I enjoy watching your program every week. These lawyers seem to have no or very little regard for the Social Security Fund. I predict that he can join with the other lawyer in St. Kitts and form a legal practice called Wilkin and Brantley, operating on both islands. Reads this email. This other email reads, I'm trying to dispose of them so that they don't pile up on me. This other email reads, Mr. Liebert, I think that's the same email repeated there. Mark Brantley is just a boasting showman, reads this email. He is so obsessed with himself and feels he is the brightest of Albright. He thinks he has the inalienable right to insult anyone, whether on his radio program, in the National Assembly, or at his press conferences. And no one should respond or answer him in kind. Now he's meeting his match with Straight Talk and the NRP. He feels threatened and can only resort to being abusive to those who have the tenacity to stand up to him. I vividly remember him hurling insults at Marcella in Parliament and on his radio show, saying that she could be his mother, and Patches is the oldest parliamentarian. When Harris fired him from cabinet, stripped him of his foreign ministry, and replaced him with Juicy Byron, the Papi Show went berserk, saying that all of his cabinet colleagues had a joke on Juicy, that if they want anything dead, just give it to Juicy. And at his press conference this week, he tried to diminish Patches, having nobody in cabinet ever accused Patches of being bright. He's just a liar, and I can't stand political pressure. You're talking about Rwanda. You're frightened. Read this other email. This email reads as well, my Straight Talk family. I am so sorry that poor Sean had allowed Mark Brantley to lead him down the wrong path, which resulted in the collapse of Team Unity. Sean wasn't aware that Brantley's plan was for him to become the first Division Prime Minister in 2025. So in 2022, he started the process. Making confusion with Harris for him to hand over the prime ministership to Sean. If Harris was blind and stupid like Mark and conceded to his demand to hand over to Sean, then Sean would be prime minister for 2022 to 2025, when the next election was due. Then Mark would become the next prime minister in 2025 to 2030. That was his dirty, selfish plan. It was all about himself and absolutely nothing to do with Nevis' fair share of CBI. He wanted his fair share in the prime ministership of the Federation. As so he go, Patches just to say he was the first Nevis man that created history of becoming prime minister. But he fat. Reads this other email. And this email reads, I listened to an excerpt of Premier Mark Brantley's independence speech, in which he said, let us put aside all rancor, etc., going forward. But soon after his monthly press conference on Tuesday, his belligerent, rancorous speech demonstrated to the world that Brantley is just an empty barrel making noise. My Straight Talk family. Yes, my Straight Talk family, it's now 9:32. It's 28 minutes before the 10 o'clock hour. You may have just joined me, my Straight Talk family. And we are looking at our thesis tonight, Millions Missing with Social Security Money Gone. And for those who may have just joined me on the last episode of Straight Talk, we exposed the reckless behavior of a man called Mark Brantley. We told the nation that Mark Brantley has taken Nevis to the brink of bankruptcy, and his only solution is to borrow, and borrow to pay his debt. So much so that the Nevis Island administration, as reported by him, is over $500 million in debt. $500 million in debt, my Straight Talk family. And that's not a small amount. That's a significant amount for a small island, an island of some 13,000 people. you do the maths for me. As you know, maths is my strongest weak point. And tell me, what is the per capita? Or what would it cost every single citizen or every single division of the 13,000 divisions, my Straight Talk family? But Mark has taken Nevis to the brink of bankruptcy.
Our debt as of July 2023, our total foreign debt stood at $30.8 million. In terms of our domestic debt, that number stands at $449.4 million. When that is combined then with the foreign debt, we have a total NIA debt $480.3 million EC dollars. In terms of government guaranteed debt, and that total public sector debt comes up to $36.7 million. When then you combine the public corporations with the central government debt of $480.3 million, we have a cumulative total debt position of the island of Nevis at this point, that is corporations, of $544.7 million EC dollars. By any measure, it is a significant number.
Yes, significant, my Straight Talk family. I had this call online. Caller, forgive me for having you holding so long. That's an oversight. Yes, you're live. Hello, caller.
You are forgiven.
Thank you.
You did nothing wrong.
Thank you, sir.
You played a tape earlier of some commentary Mark made about a lady with her face. And instead of using an iron to straighten out the face, you got to use a goose. Well, a goose is very hot. And you use coals to heat that goose. Well, I listened on BBC and Sky News where a minister made a commentary about a lady. And one of the comments that he made, anyone should be afraid to crawl in bed with that lady. Okay? And for that commentary, that minister was sacked. Well, my commentary went beyond even what that minister said in Britain. Why and how come Mark ain't being sacked by his own to make those commentaries? Mark should rise to a higher occasion, a higher level, than to belittle himself. Okay? Regardless of how the lady had her face, what commentary she made. But why would Mark run with that kind of bait? He entrapped himself because the more he talk, the more he make a damn fool of himself. And there is a saying, a wise man keep a still tongue. See and no see, hear and no hear. What does that bother you, Mark? So I'm just citing that. Ain't no difference to the British commentary. And the British man gets sacked. He was a minister. Mark should be sacked. But who is there? Is Mark on Nevis? Is the judge, jury, and executioner of Nevis? These people get too much damn powers. And who give them the power? Who give them the power? No one should be afraid of no government ministers. Government come from the people, of the people, and for the people. Okay. And people in St. Kitts, they're not listening and studying out their dignity. They trample and they allow people to trample their dignity. The minister is equal to you. He's a human. You are a human.
Okay.
Call out wrong when it's wrong. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you live? Hello, caller.
Good evening. Good evening. How are you?
I am peaceful. Yourself?
I'm glad to hear your voice, Mr. Patrick Lebert. But listen, every time you speak, I listen to you from years gone by. And all you're hitting is Mr. Jew and Mark Brandy, the Premier of Nevis. What happened to Dr. Harris with the money from the Development Bank? Speak about it. and let the people know what's going on with the money.
What?
And leave Mr. Joe and the Premier Nevis alone.
So what do you know? What? No. I didn't tell me what to speak, but you can speak what you want to speak about. What happened to the money in Development Bank?
Who was in charge of the Development Bank?
No, questions don't answer
Where's
questions.
the money from the Development Bank?
No, questions don't answer questions. You raise a comment about money in Development Bank. I'm asking you what happened to the Development Bank and the money you speak about. What about it? Are you there?
Up to now, you blaming Dr. Joe all the time and the Premier of Nevis. When you was Foreign Minister in New York, when it's time to expire.
You know, no, wait.
Wait.
No, I sure I can tell anything. I control the program. I asked you a question and you're digressing. You raised an issue about Development Bank and money. So I want a clarification about Development Bank and money. Then you can come to anything after that. What about the Development Bank?
What happened to our former Premier, Mr. Harris?
Yeah, but come on.
Everything harassing you, harassing Dr. Timothy, Dr.
Yeah, but no, you're not gonna jump up and down the place. You raise an issue. Let's have an intelligible discussion. That is what Straight Talk is all about. You have your view, I have my view. Everybody has their view. But I don't want you to just talk. Hello?
You all just celebrate 40 years independent.
So what? No,
Come on.
Yeah, but I'm asking you, you raise a matter about Jew. The whole country and the whole world knows that Jew lie. The whole world knows that Mark Brantley is arrogant as well as he is incompetent. He has run Nevis to the brink of bankruptcy. The world knows that Harris, during COVID, saved the country and without a template for a pandemic never seen in 100 years, a whole century. And he protected life of the lives of our country. Harris was a prime minister who handled the economy well. So those are facts. So I don't want you just talk because I have a mouth. Tell me about Development Bank you referred to. Are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here listening.
Yeah, but you haven't told me about. You haven't told. You haven't.
The Prime Minister Joe. Leave the man. The man only there for a year. Let him.
It doesn't matter how long he's there. He has to account for his stewardship. It has nothing to do with how long he's there. I'm still asking you. If you can't answer the question, then perhaps you just. What is the issue with your issue raised about Development Bank?
Development Bank.
What money? What money?
When you was up in the state politics, the money was you know about the money you on Harris.
What money?
From the Development Bank. From Social Security Bank. The Social Security Bank there.
My dear brother, I want to thank you for your input. You obviously have nothing. I don't normally do this way, right? But you're not bringing anything. You're not.
Patrick.
Yes, mm-hmm.
Listen, we just celebrate 40 years independence.
So what?
And I appreciate you all the time, but you all completely divided. You all have to forget about the past and get together and move things to the Nevis forward.
No. We're not talking about the past, We're talking about the present. The present situation is in St. Kitts that since the Jew administration came to office, they have displaced over 4,000 people off the PAP. People have become poorer. So what has that to do with 40 years? That's not the past, that's the present. The present is, the present situation in St. Kitts is, since Jew inherited a country and he had a situation with 10 murders. In 2023, we are speaking today on the 28th of September, and there are 21 murders. 21. So what are you talking about? Those are the present facts. Come on. If you don't have facts, then just don't talk. We here on this program, we don't vanish the truth. We tell you what the truth is. I'll give you a few seconds. So, any final comments, sir? Any final comment?
Anyway, listen, you must speak the truth and stop telling lie. Because listen, you crucify Mark all the time. Get off of Mark back.
But
forget about Mark and the Prime Minister.
But Mark has run. Mark says
when he was up in New York all the time, they got to send the FBI to get you out of your office.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah.
It was when it comes on straight talk, we don't deal with once upon a time. We deal with the facts. That sounds like a once upon a time story. Once upon a time, when Patches was in New York, the FBI came for him. Imagine that. Could you imagine that? Oh, wow. But anyhow, the facts are that Mark Brantley, and we don't fabricate. Mark Brantley has run the Nevis Island administration and Nevis on the brink of bankruptcy. Here's what he said. These are the words of Mark Brantley. These are not my words. Here's what he said, my brother. Here's what he said.
Our debt as of July 2023, our total foreign debt stood at $30.8 million. In terms of our domestic debt, that number stands at $449.4 million. When that is combined then with the foreign debt, we have a total NIA debt $480.3 million EC dollars. In terms of government guaranteed debt, and that total public sector debt comes up to $36.7 million. When then you combine the public corporations with the central government debt of $480.3 million, we have a cumulative total debt position of the island of Nevis at this point, that is corporations, of $544.7 million EC dollars. By any measure, it is a significant number.
His own words, by any measure, it is a significant number. An island, 35 square miles, a population of 13,000 people, and over $500 million debt. So here on Straight Talk, we bring you the facts, we bring you the truth. We don't vanish the truth, my Straight Talk family. The truth is sometimes brutal, we know. And what has happened to Mark Brantley? This political activist has said this, and he's said it so appropriately. This is how he summed up Mark and his newfound wisdom. This is what he said about Mark Brantley. And before that, a matter of fact, before I go to that, somebody just mentioned the issue of his comments as it relates to some woman he said he saw. Imagine he said this. This is how he feels about this woman. An individual like himself. He said this.
I went to an event today and I looked around and I saw a particular lady. And the lady used to be a good-looking lady. And I say used to be because she faced so vexed that the good look she used to have looked like they disappeared. And I said to my colleague who was there with me, I said, Lord, watch this woman's face. Face twists up like you need an iron to iron out she face, how she face twists up. But face, when I tell you twist up, you need one of them old goose. Because that they can't iron out with regular iron. You need a goose to press out she face.
So why should we not speak about this? You can speak about it and ask and tell us if that's acceptable to you. And here's another view about Mark Brantley's performance. And we haven't spoken about the hospital, which is under repairs or under renovation for an additional wing for about 4 years, and just wanted $2.5 million to borrow more from Social Security. That is what you should talk about. Here's another view of Mark Brantley.
I couldn't help but wonder, premiers, about faith, about some newfound wisdom, or about the new reality, necessity more than anything else. After all, one does not become wise overnight. When you look at his previous position with the fair share and all of that, you have to wonder. I think when you are beholden to the federal government as the NIA is currently, you have got to be politically nimble. I'm looking for a sign that Mr. Brantley can pull the rest of Nevis with his thinking. Whether he can convince the opposition in Nevis, the people of Nevis, to come around to his new found thinking. The NIA cannot survive without subventions from the federal government right now. Critically right now, that is the new reality. Okay? And so I think it was more a case of adjustment to suit that reality than any newfound wisdom.
That's the facts. Good evening, Patches. Reads this email. This country is in serious crisis. Look at what's happening to our water and electricity services. There's no water in most of the country. Plus, persons are experiencing frequent electricity outages. Look at our healthcare services. Patients are allegedly dying at the hospital unnecessarily and mysteriously. Look at our foreign services. We are now the laughing stock of the entire world on the United Nations stage. St. Kitts and Nevis is in a mess. In addition, the recent saga with respect to the non-bidding for the ICC T20 Cricket World Cup speaks to the fact that sports is also in crisis. Look at the fundamental ministry as agriculture. It is in pure confusion, where farmers are crying out daily. Crime, murders, robberies are at the highest levels in the history of the country. The government is mismanaged and being run like a rum shop and a whole house. Reads this email. 9:51. It's 9 before the 9 o'clock hour. I'll take a few more calls, my Straight Talk family, as we wind down tonight's programming. And my Straight Talk family, the theme or our thesis for tonight, as mentioned earlier, for those who may have just come in. And we don't have time. We don't have time, my Straight Dog family. We don't have time to really deal with all of the issues tonight. But on Monday, God's willing, we will deal with many more issues. But here, I'm sorry, caller, you are live, and thank you for holding. Hello?
Yes, Mr. Lyman, how you doing, man?
I am peaceful, my brother. Yourself?
Pretty good. Man, I hope you're nowhere close, a bundle of straws, man.
Straws.
I hope them office papers you got. I hope them papers you got in the office ain't close to you, man. the sparks are flying tonight. The sparks are flying tonight, man. Them straws will catch you on fire tonight, man.
Well, we'll be a fireproof, my brother. We're fireproof. Trust me.
Yeah, all right, okay. I hear you, man.
Yes.
Yeah, man. My God.
What's on your mind, my brother?
Maybe I'm gonna have to call Judy Atkins to send the fire truck out the fireman to cool you down.
No, out
the fire you on tonight, man. You're on fire tonight.
Well, that's what you said. That you said that, not me.
But anyway, man. Mm-hmm. I asked you a question last week or something. If you could bring the federal debt, so we could put the federal debt with the NIA debt, and we could see where St. Kitts and Nevis is at right now.
You know, you did ask me that.
It doesn't sound like you did your homework this time, man. What's up with you, man?
I'm sorry, teacher. I didn't do my homework. I must admit I overlooked that. I overlooked that. I'm sorry about that. You're correct.
Yeah, no problem, man. No problem at all. Maybe next time. But I really much want to maybe see if you can get that done first, please.
Yes, I will try my best. Although everything is a national secret for this new administration, but I'll try my best.
Because
national debt is yes.
It's very disappointing to hear what you're reporting tonight from the Nevis and it's dissonant, but it's not surprising to me at all. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I already made my personal observation about SKN.
Mm-hmm.
The place is really corrupt. The place is really corrupted, man. We gotta get this corruption under control. Mm-hmm. Because once upon a time, one of my teachers tell me it affects what GDP.
Yes.
We gotta try to get that under control. Mm-hmm. And on the Nevis side, man, if that figure is correct, and you're hearing it from the horse's mouth, so it ain't got to come from nobody else. Once it's coming from the horse's mouth, this figure got to be correct. But if I was in his place, the big. When last you went Nevis, man?
I haven't been there for some time. I must admit, I haven't been there for a couple months.
Yeah, there was a. Yeah, okay. There's a big stone. There's a big stone up by Credit Code, or used to be. I don't know if they move it, but. People would have had to go move that big stone to find them figures underneath there, because I won't be I won't be bringing up those figures willingly, bro. Somebody would have had to go find them figures somewhere. Maybe I'd have took them out of that big stone up color code, and let's see who moved that big stone to find them figures.
But
anyway, man.
Always nice to hear you, my brother. Always nice to hear you.
Yeah, the players is too polarizing, man. We gotta get things going, man. We need some dignity back in the land. We need dignity for the people. And all this back and forth stuff, man. We can't get along, bro. We can't get along at all. We can't get along. If we can't get along, I don't see how we gonna advance the nation. You know what I mean? There's a lot of back and forth.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Well, you see, we want to heal the wound, but we don't want to open it to treat it. I mean, how can you reconcile if you don't talk about the issues? I think it was Bishop Desmond Tutu said that when on his Truth and Reconciliation Committee. He said you have to open the wounds, treat them, to heal them. But we don't want to do that. I mean, people don't want to talk issues. I mean, a gentleman called a while ago, and he talks about something, but he doesn't know what he's talking about. If you come, let us have a discussion, and each one teach one, right? If he knows something about bank,
yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. That's true. Definitely. And now, I heard at Cotton Young Village sometime last week or something, there was an incident with a color of a gazebo. Mm-hmm. I don't see how a color of a gazebo is on people's list like that. The real thing that's going on in Nevis, we got to keep our eyes on the big prize. Mm-hmm. We have an NIA debt, total cumulative debt, $544.7 million. That's astounding, man.
It is for small.
But these guys, to be talking about that money like as if it's $10, that's a big debt, man. And I don't see where that money is going to come from to eradicate that debt. You know what I'm saying? Nevis is really starting to trend down the wrong path, bro. It's trending on the wrong path, and what we gotta concentrate on is the big picture. Sometime right now, my observation is that they don't have an opposition. On the Sinkers federal side, I don't see a strong opposition there, or there's no opposition in my opinion. And on the Nevis side, I'm saying equally the same. So therefore, democracy is starting to be at risk, man. And it's a need. If we can't have opposition, somebody gonna have to come up with a new party on both ends, bro.
There's a need for a new party of St. Kitts and Nevis if we're not going to hold these guys' feet to the fire, because these guys, they're running away with the governments on both sides. You played that clip with Carlisle Powell, but, that's somebody I know pretty well myself, you know what I mean? As a youngster growing up in Nevis, and he knows me pretty well too. I don't really want to say nothing too bad about him like that, but, not having that oversight committee to keep an eye on the NIA government, these guys can run away with this stuff, and they are running away with it as far as I can tell.
Exactly.
So we need to really get together, man, and be stronger, man. And when we see wrong, we got to eradicate that wrong. We got to eradicate that corruption. But I always got a lot to say, man. But other people got to get in as well.
Thanks a lot, my brother. Let's keep hope alive.
Yeah, have a good night, man. Nice talking with you.
Nice talking to you as well, my brother. Always good to hear you. Let's go back. Hello Patches reads this email. The workers at Social Security say that the new director do not know what he's doing. That is why it's taking so long to pay the $1,000, and almost after 2 weeks of the announcement by June. They say the new director refused to implement the model the former director used to pay the $1,000 to the 10,000 persons who were out of a job during COVID within 1 month. Patches, the other reason why the payment is not being processed in a timely manner is because the staff at Social Security are disgusted and fed up with Jews' exploitation of their time and labor without proper consultation or compensation, beg your pardon. Patches, it's a lot of shenanigans going on down at Social Security since labor is in power. You put his friend down there, another failed political appointee who don't have the capacity or what it takes to get the job done. He down there, lost. The workers at Social Security say this is the worst director and board ever to run the organization, reads that email. And this email reads, good night, Patches. What shall it profit a man who pretends to be bright and does truly foolish things, my Straight Dog family? And as we wind down tonight's programming, my Straight Dog family, tonight we looked at the issue as it relates to Social Security. And truth be told, we have not provided all the information about Nevis and its relationship or lack thereof with the Social Security Board. Because just recently, the Nevis Island administration, in fact, wrote to the Social Security Board requesting an additional loan, my Straight Dog family. And would you believe that Mark Brantley, with all the debt that that the NIA owes the Social Security, Mark Brantley and his NIA wanted $35 million more. They requested loan funding for the rehabilitation of the Island Main Road, some $10.5 million. Construction of new Ministry of Agriculture building, $2 million. Alexandra Hospital Rehabilitation Project, $2.5 million. Although he said that the money was not exhausted, and that's something else we will deal with in subsequent program. Purchase, acquisition of lands for housing development, $10 million. Purchase acquisition of lands for commercial development, $5 million. UTC debt consolidation, another $5 million. And he wanted a total of $35 million more from the Social Security Board. And this was signed by the Ministry of Finance. I will expose that in due course, my Straight Dog family. But you see, Nevis is in bad shape. But we have to talk about it. Talking about it is to let them know that people are looking at them and he needs to improve. Don't come with your nonsense talk, and instead of answering the questions, you come and trying to talk about brights and dunce, or bright, who is bright for who is not. But my Straight Talk family, we'll wind down tonight's programming. And tonight, as we wind down, the issue of the saga at the United Nations has given us a black eye as a nation. We will hear more about that in the coming days. But we only broach the matter tonight. We focus tonight as well, or our thesis tonight rather, was titled Millions Missing Mark. Where is Social Security money gone? We expose the reckless behavior of Mark Brantley. We told the nation that Nevis was on the brink of bankruptcy under Mark Brantley. He told us that in his own words. He called the over $500 million debt significant. Not me. He was the one who said that, my Straight Dog family. The evidence is clear, and the facts cannot be disputed. And we are asking Mark Brantley, as the Minister of Finance and Minister with responsibility for human resources in Nevis, give account of the money that was deducted from the salary and wages of civil servants in Nevis and not being paid into the Social Security Fund. Where is that money? What is that money being used for? If it's not being paid as per the law into the Social Security Fund, including the fines. We have learned just yesterday that Mark Brantley's NIA now owes $12 million. And we must hold him accountable because he has the constitutional authority, the constitutional mandate to exercise general direction and control over the Ministry of Finance. That's not an option. That's a mandate. He must be the one instructing the Ministry of Finance not to pay Social Security. He has to be the one doing that. And when asked a question, he comes with a nonsense answer. The facts are the facts. When Mark Brantley was asked a pertinent question, an important question about the debt owed to Social Security for contributions, we're not even touched the loans. We're talking about the debts owed to the Social Security for deductions made from the civil servants' salaries and wages. This question was posed
on a program called Straight Talk. A former member of the Team Unity administration, Mr. Ian Patrice Liburn, made a comment about the Nevis Island administration and Social Security. In fact, he indicated that Social Security owes, the Nevis Island administration owes Social Security over $40 million.
Over how much?
over $40 million in contributions. I would like you to comment on that, if you could.
And one would have anticipated that an honest, decent, and competent leader would say, Mr. Bat, that's true. Or Mr. Bat, that's false. But Mark Brantley is obviously none of the above based on this response.
I was in cabinet for a short period with a man called Ian Patches-Liebert. And what I will say today on record is that nobody, Mr. Bart, has ever accused Ian Patches-Liebert of being bright. It has never happened. And at his age now, I don't think it will ever happen again. So, I don't respond to nonsense. And when I hear some of these people and their nonsense, I leave it right there. If Mr. Patches had any appeal to the public, he would not have been fired from every single job that he has ever held. He is now where he is because, you know why? He told people, I know you and you know me. He should have left it at I know you. Because once he said they know him, that's why people vote against him. So I am not concerned about the likes of Patches-Liebert. He is where he belongs, and he will forever now be a talk show host. That is his calling. Let him stay right there.
Let's dispense of these emails before we wrap tonight's Straight Talk family. I didn't see them. Patches, every time Drew realizes that his ratings are going lower and lower, he thinks that giving away money is the answer. Dr. Drew, the money you are giving us will not save you at the polls next elections. We are fed up of you, PAM, PLP, Douglas Labour. And even you so-called Jew Labour, the whole country knows that nothing in St. Kitts but some too ashamed to say it. Nothing's happening in St. Kitts but some too ashamed to say it. I got my money since last week and it done. Things tight in the country. And if you know what is good for you, you better put us back on PAP and pay the peace man their good money because you're up and down in plane but running away from the problem is not the answer, reads this email. This other email reads, I was appalled by the lack of professionalism by our UN ambassador. This is what happens when you appoint a child to do a big man's work. They have some people in the Federation calling themselves journalists, but they ain't worth fat. I am of the opinion that some of them have nothing in life to talk about. They have compromised themselves looking for favors and handouts from those in authority. They are afraid to ask the Prime Minister and Premier the hard questions. Imagine this journalist, Elke Hewlett, at Brantley's press conference, was the first to ask Mark something about what Patches said on his Straight Talk show. Reads this email. Good evening, Mr. Patches. Tell Culture he's not alone. We are ready to rally with him to get our country back on track. I miss hearing from him, and I believe he sometimes gets frustrated with the current situation in government. All will be well with God in our struggles, reads this other email. Patches, why Lennox Liebert keep attacking you about what in Cairn? You've been out of government for so long. Lennox has lived in New York all these years and have not accomplished anything other than being a super in Harlem and have not lived in nothing but a basement for free. Lennox Liebert, you have not accomplished anything other than being a super. Please leave Patches alone. Cairn people rejected you. You are a big flip-flop. People will quit on you. You must get up every day and make sure you don't quit on yourselves. Reads this email. And this final email, my Straight Talk family, reads, it's his long time Mark insulting women, you know. He has a penchant for that. He said that Dr. Patricia Bartlett could only communicate with animals and not with humans. Forward with himself. reads this final email, my Straight Talk family. And as we wrap tonight, someone told me yesterday that in school, Mark Brantley was a talker, but without much depth. His classmates said he has grown into an arrogant monster. And though he often speaks about his late mother, he has absolutely no respect for women. And this comment, my Straight Talk family, epitomizes that view about Brantley, my Straight Talk family, and his disrespect for women.
I went to an event today and I looked around and I saw a particular lady. And the lady used to be a good looking lady. And I say used to be because she faced so vexed that the good look she used to have looked like they disappeared. And I said to my colleague who was there with me, I said, Lord, watch this woman's face. Face twists up like you need an iron to iron out she face, how she face twists up. But face, when I tell you twist up, you need one of them old goose. Because that they can't iron out with regular iron. You need a goose to press out she face.
And even his own CCM supporters have publicly condemned Mark Brantley. This pastor, though, had this to say.
People have rejected Mark Brantley, and by right so. Mark is not doing anything for the poor man. Mark Brantley is not using his position as a premier to help the poor. Mark is going to do the same shit that he has done in the past. He recognizes only the foreigners, bring them in to work in top positions, and the CCM people who support him, he overlooks them, marginalizes them, sidetrack them. But Mark continue down that stupid road. You need to listen. You need to listen. You need to understand that you're not representing the poor, Mark Brantley. You're not representing the poor. All the mouth that you have, you're not representing the poor. And that is getting to people's spirit.
And Mark Brantley has realized that the NIA cannot survive without subventions from the federal government. Subventions. The same subventions he got under Team Unity under Timothy Harris.
I couldn't help but wonder, premiers, about faith, about some newfound wisdom, or about the new reality, necessity more than anything else. After all, one does not become wise overnight. When you look at his previous position with the fair share and all of that, you have to wonder. I think when you are beholden to the federal government as the NIA is currently, you have got to be politically nimble. I'm looking for a sign that Mr. Brantley can pull the rest of Nevis with his thinking. Whether he can convince the opposition in Nevis, the people of Nevis, to come around to his new found thinking. The NIA cannot survive without subventions from the federal government right now. Critically right now, that is the new reality. Okay? And so I think it was more a case of adjustment to suit that reality than any newfound wisdom.
No, not newfound wisdom. Because Mark Brantley, as Premier of Nevis, has the Nevis Island administration behaving like the federal government's rent boy, the way he suddenly wants to cuddle with Dr. Drew. Mark Brantley is petty, childish, and dunce. And I confirmed that very early in the Team Unity cabinet. I remember one cabinet he came with some report from ECHO and the TSA. And I asked Mark Brantley if he read the report. He said, no. Did he read the ECHO report? No. And I ticked. And I asked him how the hell then he's coming to the cabinet to misguide the cabinet. And he stormed out the cabinet. Stormed out. Colleagues would remember that. And in 10 minutes, he sent a WhatsApp in the cabinet chat apologizing. I refuse to accept that apology until today. But Mark Brantley has not learned after buying his way into Parliament for almost 20 years. And yes, elections are easily bought. In St. Kitts and Nevis, elections are easily bought by those who have money. And you confess that. And yes, Mark Brantley, you boasted you have money. But you have money. But money can't buy wisdom. And Mark Brantley cannot become wise overnight. He projects outwardly, all of a sudden, a newly found wisdom. But little does Mark Brantley know that the best measure of a man's intelligence is not what he says, but instead it is measured by what he does. I repeat that for you, Mark Brantley. Little do you know that the best measure of a man's intelligence is not what he says, but instead it is measured by what he does. What have you done for Nevis or even St. Kitts? Mark Brantley, the next opportunity you get, therefore, to answer the question, please tell the country about the millions missing mark. Tell us where social security money gone. That's my story tonight, and I am not going to change it. I just want to thank Almighty God for guiding our conversation tonight, as always. I want to thank all of you who listened, those of you who sent emails, and those of you who called, those of you who joined me for the first time in particular. Remember, Straight Talk is heard every Monday and Thursday night from 8 until 10 p.m. I want to thank those on the YouTube and Facebook posse. All of you, the callers, the emailers, and those who listen. Remember, you are the ones who make Straight Talk, and for that reason, I say a big, big thank you. I am Ian Patches Libert, and God's spare we will connect on Monday for another edition of Straight Talk. Until then, be good to yourselves and to all whom you meet, my Straight Talk family. Go to church, do your chores. Have yourself a wonderful weekend. And remember, whatever your mind conceive, that you will achieve. But first of all, you must believe. So when you wake in the morning, thank God for the morning light. Thank Him for taking you through the night. And my Straight Talk family, keep moving on. Bye-bye. Until we connect on Monday.
The morning, I thank God for the morning light. Give Him thanks and praises for taking me safely through the night. For the rest of food and loving care, and for my mother's breath of life that's got me here. So whatever my mind conceives that I will achieve, you better believe, because I do the things I should, be to my brethren kind and good, the best I could. So I'll keep moving